Ladies and gentlemen, your 2025 Toronto Blue Jays are first place in the AL East, have the most wins in franchise history before the All-Star break, and are currently on a 10-game win streak trying to make it 11, which would be a franchise record. A sentence not a lot of people thought would be said this season. So, what happened? Last year, we had a record of 74 and 88, with important players like Bo Bichette and George Springer having down years and didn't really do much to improve the season offensively. Sure, we brought in Anthony Santander, but he has played through an injury and struggled through the first half and is currently on the IL. We brought in Miles Straw by accident when we were trying to use the cash we got for Roki Sasaki, but that's about it. So, if we have almost the exact same lineup as last year, how are we so much better? The answer, new hitting coach David Popkins. People don't really realize when a bench coach or a hitting coach gets fired, but when Toronto fired their hitting coach last season and brought in the Twins hitting coach David Popkins, people knew it would bring a change. After the Twins lost in the playoffs in 2024, they decided to let go of David Popkins, and then in the 2025 offseason, he would sign with the Toronto Blue Jays. People were hopeful that Popkins would help the Blue Jays because even though they won only 74 games last year, they were still contending and going for the World Series. Now, in 2024, a lot of people on the Blue Jays had down years. George Springer had a slash line of just 220, 303, and 371. Bo Bichette had a slash line of just 225, 277, and 322 while missing over half the year. All the Blue Jays players who were traded at the deadline were mostly offseason acquisitions who did not play well. And after the 2024 deadline, the Blue Jays were one of the worst offensive teams in the league to finish the year. But even with as good as a hitting coach as David Popkins, there would still need to be a lot of work done to get this Blue Jays offense into playoff contention. One of the biggest things about the 2024 season for the Blue Jays was that they were a bottom 3 team in the entire MLB in hitting home runs. But that was all about to change because the first thing that David Popkins said to the media when he came to Toronto was that he loved damage. But for the first bit of the 2025 season, that was the main issue for the Toronto Blue Jays. For March, April, and a bit of May, they were one of the worst home run hitting teams, but even with the power struggles, the Blue Jays still found ways to win by being gritty and hitting contact to get on base and scoring runs. This is where not just David Popkins comes in, but the entire Blue Jays coaching staff. One of the ways that the Blue Jays are doing so good right now is because every man on the roster is contributing to them winning, whether it's base running and taking an extra base or hustling extra hard on defense. Everyone is doing something to help the team win. So that was a good way to get by the first little bit of the season without hitting any home runs pretty much. But then comes June, and this is where the season starts to turn around for the Toronto Blue Jays. With no one being in double-digit home runs for the first 2 months of the season, as soon as the month turned, there were 4 people in double-digit home runs for the Toronto Blue Jays: George Springer, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, and Addison Barger. And the players that weren't hitting home runs were still being gritty and getting on base, like Nathan Lucas, Ernie Clement, and Alejandro Kirk, who would see multiple pitches per at-bat and fight to get on base. This offense, combined with an amazing bullpen arms like Jeff Hoffman and Jimmy Garcia, along with a great starting rotation of the top 3, Kevin Gausman, Jose Barrios, and Chris Bassett, were bound to be a playoff team. But then comes the stretch of Toronto Blue Jay baseball that not even the most hardcore fans saw coming. The Toronto Blue Jays were visiting the Boston Red Sox, and they lost the first 2 games of the series, of one being 15-1. But then the calendar flipped to July, and at the time of this recording, the Toronto Blue Jays are undefeated in July. They won the last game in Boston. They swept the Yankees and the Angels at home and took the first 2 out of 3 against the White Sox and are trying to make history by winning 11 games in a row. During this stretch of baseball, the 10 games the Blue Jays have won, they are first in the MLB in almost every offensive category. In July, the Blue Jays have 78 hits, 15 home runs, 54 RBIs, and 34 walks with a team batting average of 286, on base of 365, and a slugging of 500. They also strike out and swing and miss on pitches in the zone less than any other team in the MLB. It's pretty safe to say that David Popkins, along with the other coaches on the Blue Jays, are locked in and help this team get to where they are today. Hopefully, they can continue to dominate the MLB as they look to win the AL East over the Yankees, over the Rays, and make it past the wild card for the first time in 5 years. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And other than that, it's been me, your boy Brandon. I break down the Blue Jays, and I'll see you next time. Peace.